Right, so let's have a look at another partial fraction expansion. Now I'm going to do this particular one here. Now if you look at this one, you can see that we have a quadratic expression as our numerator and a quadratic expression as our denominator. So what we require when we're doing partial fraction expansions is that the degree of the numerator should be less than the degree of the denominator. In this case they're the same, so what we're going to have to do is do a division. So in other words, we're doing something like this. If I take an example, a non-algebraic example, if we take, for example, 25 over 18, traditionally what you would do is take the 25 divided by 18, so it goes in once, you write down the 18 here, you would subtract, so you would get 7 here. So you get, it goes in once with 7 left over. So in other words, you would write it as 1, so you'd write 18 as, sorry, 25 over 18 as 1 and 7/18. So that's what we're going to do with this here, except that the whole part here we'll do nothing with. This is the part that we're going to expand with this fraction here. So first thing I've got to do is divide our numerator into our denominator. So let's just start that procedure anyway. So we have 6x squared plus 3x plus 2, and we're going to divide in 2x squared plus 14x plus 20. So first thing you do is you divide this first term into the first term here, and it goes in 3 times. Multiply the 3 by all of this and write your answer underneath. So here we get 6x squared plus 2 14s 28. So we get so we're going to get, oh no, sorry, 3 2 6 and then 3 14, sorry, 3 14s here is going to give me 42x. That's it. 42x is going to go here, and then 3 20s here, that will give me 60 here. So what we do next then is just subtract these two, and what you end up with here, well, these two will just cancel or get 0 here. Here we'll end up with plus 3x minus 42x, that gives me minus 39x. Here we end up with plus 2 minus 60, so that gives me minus 58. So in other words, when I divide this numerator into the denominator here, it goes in 3 times with this left over here. So in other words, our fraction then is equal to, our fraction here, this fraction here, that's going to be equal to 3 plus minus 39x minus 58 over this here, 2x squared plus 14x plus 20. You just think about what we did here. We divided 18 into 25, went in once with 7 left over, so it's 1 and 7 over 18. So here we have 3 and this term here over this here. Now we're not going to do anything with the 3, as I say, but what we are going to do is take this part here. We're going to take this part here, and we're going to do our expansion with this here, our fraction expansion with this part here. So let me just write that down here. So we have minus 39x minus 58 all over 2x squared plus 14x plus 20. Now what we want to do again is, you can see here that the degree of our numerator is 1 less than the degree of our denominator here, so we can just we can do this. We don't have to do any more divisions or anything like that. So what we've got to do first is factorize our denominator again, like we did in the previous video. So it's 39 minus 39x minus 58, and then on the bottom here we've got to factorize here. So we end up with 2x times x anyway, and then let me see, 24 times 5 should work, I think, yeah. we put a 4 here, a 5 here. We've got a plus plus, so we're going to stay with plus plus here, and that does work. So what I'm going to do then is just take that and divide it into two fractions. So I'm going to take a over 2x plus 4, and then I'm going to take b, and that's going to be over the x plus 5. So I'm going to say this fraction here is equal to these two fractions added. Now I don't know what a and b are, so I've got to work out what the a and b would be. So we do what we did in the previous video. What we're going to do is just add these two fractions. So common denominator again, 2x plus 4 times x plus 5. Now divide 2x plus 4 in here, you get x plus 5, so we end up with a times x plus 5 on top. We have a plus here. Divide x plus 5 in here, you get 2x plus 4, multiply that by b, so it's b times 2x plus 4. Okay, so let's keep going then. So we end up with, just going to multiply, well actually, you know, I might do this a slightly different way. What I did in the previous video was multiplied out the top and then did simultaneous equations, but I might just try the other method. What I'm going to do is take the top here, we know has to equal that has to equal minus 39x minus 58 over the 2x plus 4 times x plus 5. That's what we want it to equal. The denominators equal each other anyway, but the numerator is what we have to write down. It's what we've got to work out. We write it down and work it out. So in other words, we've got a times x plus 5 plus b times 2x plus 4, and we want that to equal minus 39x minus 58. Now what I can do here is I can put in maybe a value for x that will get rid of the a, or a value for x that will get rid of the b. And that should work out for me. Now you can do it the other way, the previous way. I did a previous video, I just did simultaneous equations by multiplying these out, putting the x's together, factorizing out the x's, and equating coefficients and so on. You can have a look at that anyway, but what I'll do here is, let's say I let x equal to minus 2. If I put in a minus 2 here, I'll end up with minus 4 here plus 4, which is 0. 0 times b is 0, and I'll just end up with an a here, some value multiplied by a here. So what I'm going to do is let x equal to minus 2. So that will give me a times, well, if I have a minus 2 here plus 5, that's 3, so I'll end up with 3a here. Now here I'll end up with, as I say, minus 2 times plus 2 is minus 4. Minus 4 plus 4 is 0, so this will become 0. 0 times b is 0. On the right hand side I'll end up with minus 2 times minus 39, so that will just give me 78. And then I'll have minus 58 here. So you can see why I did this. I picked a value that I knew would get rid of either the a or the b, in this case the b, and I end up with an equation with just a in it. So in other words, what I end up with here is 3a is equal to 20, or a is just equal to 20 over 3. Okay, so let's do the other one then. Let's see if we can find out what b is. So in other words, this time I've got to let x equal to something that will get rid of the a. Now if I put in x is minus 5 here, so if x is minus 5, I'll have minus 5 plus 5, which is 0. 0 times a is 0, so that'll get rid of the a. So I'm going to let x equal to minus 5. So what will that do for me? Well, I'll end up with 0 here. I'll end up with 2 times minus 5, which is minus 10. Minus 10 plus 4 is minus 6. So I'll end up with, here I'll end up with minus 6b equal to, now minus 5 times minus 39 is 195, and minus 58 here. So here I'll end up with minus 6b is equal to 137, and that will give me b here is equal to minus 137 over 6. Okay, so now I have my two values for my one value for a, one value for b. So all I've got to do now is put them into my two fractions here, these two fractions here. So I'm going to write these down again with a and b substituted in. So what I end up with here is, I end up with, remember we had a over 2x plus 4, and then we had a b over x plus 5. Okay, so we know that a is 20 over 3, so that means I'm going to end up with 20 over 3 over 2x plus 4. So in other words, that's really just 20 over 3 times 2x plus 4, plus my b is minus 137 over 6. So what I'm going to do is leave this as minus, and I'll end up with 137 over 6 times x plus 5. So I've kind of done two steps here. It's my a was 20 over 3, so I got 20 over 3 here. I brought the 3 down here, or really I've just divided two fractions here, or flipped the denominator upside down and multiplied. So these are my two, this is my answer here really. Okay, this is these two fractions added together or subtracted in this particular case should give me my original fraction, which was, remember we had 6x squared plus 3x plus 2, and that was all over 2x squared plus 14x plus 20. Now we divided this in and we got 3, so really what we've got is these two fractions added, and then we've got to add 3 as well. Now these two fractions added should give me the minus 39x minus 58 over what was it, 39x, oh yeah, 2x squared plus 14x plus 20. And what you will find, I won't do it, but you should find that when you add these two together you do in fact end up with this here. So in other words, this fraction here, the one that we started with, is 3 plus these two here. So it's 3 over 1 if you like, so we have 3 fractions in fact added. So what I can do is maybe just write it out properly here. It's really just, this is my final answer if you like, 3 over 1. So when you add these 3 fractions here, you should end up with this here. You can try it, it does actually work.